The lone female involved in the Lincoln assassination is brought to trial, and the only hope to find the truth is a lawyer that doesn't even want the job. Hello there, everyone. As always, for RealScreenReviews.com, I'm movie critic Nick Yakubuchi, and our next movie review is The Conspirator. After a limited run in major cities, this very serious drama has opened in wide release on Friday, April 15, 2011, and it features the very talented James McAvoy, Robin Wright, Justin Long, Tom Wilkinson, Stephen Root, Danny Houston, and many, many others. The Conspirator comes to us from Academy Award-winning filmmaker and Hollywood legend Robert Redford, the director of Ordinary People, Quiz Show, and one of my favorite dramas, A River Runs Through It. You really must compliment Mr. Redford, who at the age of 75 is still at the top of his game, making very credible and serious productions. This story tells us of the assassination of President Lincoln and the events that unravel in the aftermath of its wake. Along with being charged for the conspiracy of the deaths of the President, the Vice President, and the Secretary of State, one woman and 7 men will now stand trial for the darkest hour of the still relatively new United States of America. Mary Surratt is seen as an accessory because she was the owner of the home where the assaults were thought out, and new lawyer and former Union war hero Frederick Aiken very, very reluctantly agrees to defend her in court. Now, as the story progresses, Frederick's view of Miss Surratt changes as he suspects that she is merely a pawn in a very complex and intricate plot to flesh out and capture the final fugitive, and that would be her own son, John. As she attempts to fight off a nation of opposition, her lawyer will struggle just as hard to find the truth and save her life. Well, people, just as relevant as the Lincoln assassination is to the era of the 1860s, you can attest to the exact same feeling the 9/11 attacks had on the era of the new millennium. The United States was still relatively new at this stage, and this was the first time that we had really been caught with our britches down. And just like 9/11, people were scared, and the results were not just wanted, but they were demanded. Civil liberties being trampled and the violation of rights are not going to stand in the way of the capture of those suspected of being responsible, and the depiction of the treatment of those being held is also very reminiscent of what has currently transpired at places such as Guantanamo Bay. Now, just like previous outings such as Quiz Show, Spy Game, and Ordinary People, Redford paces this film very slowly, and in my opinion, sometimes too slowly. The primary focus of The Conspirator is the drama of the courtroom, and he does convey an authentic look and feel to that, but the film is neither visually impressive nor stunning. He creates themes and captures this certain period of time with the help of creative lighting, but this is nothing like the beautiful A River Runs Through It from the early 90s. And this feature does look good thanks to cinematographer Newton Thomas Siegel, who creates and invents a believable and historically accurate set without overdoing it and distracting us from the story being told. Now, James McAvoy is above average as the lawyer or reluctant hero. The coolest part of his character is that he's a retired Union war hero that just a few years ago actually fought in the war for the freedoms of others, and now he sees these liberties of his clients being perverted right in front of his own face. In his mind, Mary Surratt might be innocent and she might be guilty, but what pushes him to succeed is that his opposition has stacked the deck against him and his client. Now, this brings me to Robin Wright, who once again plays to the strength of her character and not to the sympathy of the audience. She stands mute most of the time, never saying too much when she is speaking, and I couldn't commend more that the movie never includes the admission of what a wonderful and endearing person she is. Wright delivers no soliloquy by the title character about her innocence or principles, and I think that her performance is definitely strong enough that it didn't even need it in the first place. I actually thought that her best moment was when she referred to Lincoln as "your president." A major issue that I did have with The Conspirator is that the tale is so detailed and so laid out, it really doesn't leave any kind of revelation, surprise, or even provocation of thought. Even weekly dramas, such as the easily comparable Law and Order going all the way back to the original Perry Mason, well, they would at least throw out you the proverbial third and fourth quarter plot twists. Now, don't get me wrong, this trial is not the farce that we see in the film To Kill a Mockingbird, but the historically known ending isn't going to help this film with audiences either. At 2 hours and 2 minutes, The Conspirator sometimes felt like 2 days or even 2 weeks thanks to the pace of the film. Throw on top of that unanswered questions like, was she this mastermind? And what about her son, who was only apprehended at the end of the story? How does he avoid conviction? In the end, historians will probably have a better time at this one than the average moviegoer, and considering that I was yawning and looking at my watch periodically, I would say that I'm definitely not a historian. Better than average, but only slightly, with 2.5 stars out of 4. And remember, people, I'm not always right, but only when it comes to the movies. And thank you for your attention.